Hey, it's Maximo and welcome to Maximo's Travels. In this video, I'll be reviewing our flight with China Airlines between Melbourne and Taipei. I'll also be reviewing the Marhaba Lounge at Melbourne Airport. I'll be navigating my way around Taiwan Airport at 4 a.m. in the morning with everything closed and trying to work out how to get to Taipei City. Join me on this must-watch video. We left to go to Melbourne Airport on a fairly dreary mid-spring day. It didn't take us long to catch the Uber to the airport. Apart from an accident along the way, traffic was quite light. We were catching a China Airlines flight from Melbourne to Taipei. This is the first time that we've ever flown with China Airlines before, and I was quite looking forward to the flight. After managing to navigate around the usual drop-off madness that is Melbourne Airport International Terminal, we were dropped off by our Uber. We arrived quite early and had to wait about half an hour or so until check-in opened, which was exactly 3 hours before departure. We were flying economy, and China Airlines seems to have a weird check-in process which involves one queue for web check-in and another queue for people that haven't checked in at all. We joined the web check-in queue and were issued boarding passes. Quite strange, as we already had our boarding passes on our phones. We were one of the first in the queue, and it didn't take very long at all to go through the efficient China Airlines check-in process. We were flying flight CI-58 from Melbourne to Taipei. This is on board an Airbus A350-900. I believe this was the first time I was going to fly on one of these aircraft. Unlike my previous flight with Air New Zealand, I made sure I joined China Airlines frequent flyer program and selected a window seat. Our flight was a red-eye. It was scheduled to take off at 10:35 p.m. and arrive in Taipei at 5:05 a.m. Roughly a 9-hour flight. I think the distance and the time qualifies it to be a long-haul flight. In the end, the flight departed about 9 minutes early and landed in Taipei around 3/4 of an hour early. Normally, early flights are a welcome thing, but this caused us problems at the end. Look out for the end of the video to explain what those problems were. We chose China Airlines because of the convenience of the times that their flights were flying, plus the cost. It costs $1,565 Australian per person to fly on 4 separate flights. I thought it was pretty good value. We sailed through customs and immigration and had about 2.5 hours to kill before our flight boarded. We headed to the Marhaba Lounge. This is the first time that I'd been to this lounge before, and if you're flying Vietnam Airlines or South China Airlines, this is the business class lounge that you would use. This is a reasonably large lounge with a reasonable degree of ambience. It's a fair bit larger than the Premium Plaza Lounge and the Amex Centurion Lounge that I've previously been to on my previous trips out of Melbourne International Airport. If you want a quieter or more relaxed feel, then I'd go to either the Centurion Lounge or the Plaza Premium Lounge. But if you're after a good selection of good quality food and a reasonably good selection of drinks, then the Marhaba Lounge is the lounge for you. And I've got to say, compared to some of the lounges I've been to, I was quite surprised by the good quality and selection of the food. There was plenty of gluten-free as well as vegetarian options. The food was regularly brought out and topped up and was flavourful. The only complaint I'd make is that while they had gin, they didn't have tonic. So unfortunately, Jo missed out on her gin and tonic and settled for a beer instead. I also had a reasonable selection of snacks such as dim sims, spring rolls, gyozas. The lounge also had windows which looked out onto the tarmac. Not really that interesting because it was pitch black at night, but it'd be welcome during the day. The toilet area was clean, functional, and well lit. They also had a couple of shower cubicles that you could book. So if you wanted to have a shower before your flight, you could book it. These weren't really being used when I was here, and they looked quite clean and spacious. The chairs in the lounge were quite comfortable. Time passed quite quickly. I got up and had a couple of rounds of food. It was all quite scrumptious, really. And I had a couple of rounds of drinks as well. It was soon time to head to the boarding gate. This is quite a long trek past various weird art installations and travellators. There isn't a curfew at Melbourne Airport, yet the airport seemed not very busy. There weren't that many departures on that day. We arrived at the departure gate with a minimum of fuss, took a seat and waited to be called to board our flight.
请注意，中国南方航空公司前往中国广州的344号航班乘客，请马上到11号登机口登机。
China Airlines is the flag carrier of Taiwan and a Taiwanese airline. All the announcements were both in Chinese and English.
Welcome. Hey, other side, please.
Thank you. China Airlines has 15 of the A350-900s. The average age is about 7 years. Looking at the cabin, whilst business class looked alright, I wasn't particularly impressed with premium economy. I don't think the seats were very premium over economy at all. If I was to book premium economy, I think I'd be slightly disappointed. We were seated right at the back of the plane in seats 47J and 47K. Luckily, we had no one in the aisle seat next to us and we were able to spread out during the flight. The interior of the cabin was, well, quite beige and uninspiring. Given that the planes were only 7 years old, it did make it look older than it actually was, I think. Everything in the cabin was clean, functional, and in good working order. There's 243 seats in economy in a 333 configuration. There are 5 toilets available for economy passengers, making it a ratio of about 1 to 49. This meant there was often a queue for the toilets. In terms of the seats, they were fairly comfortable. There was a fair amount of legroom in front of you. The tray tables were adjustable and had a 2-part folding design. The seats were reasonably supportive and comfortable. They had a 32-inch pitch and 18-inch width. By the end of the flight, my lower back and coccyx were quite sore because the seats were, whilst comfortable, quite hard. There was a power socket for device charging on the seat in front of you, as well as a USB plug on the entertainment system. We left the gate and prepared to take off around 9 minutes earlier than was scheduled.
Your Wi-Fi function has been turned on.
Your seat is equipped with a seatbelt. Based on CAA regulations, please fasten your seatbelt.
I was fairly impressed with the entertainment system. It was an 11.1-inch screen and it was quite bright and had good definition. It wasn't affected by reflections at all. It was quite fast and had quite a wide selection of TV shows and first-run movies. I decided to watch Avatar on my first part of the flight. The sound quality was pretty good, both with the supplied earphones as well as my Bose noise-cancelling headphones. That pillow cover has the consistency of cardboard, doesn't it?
Light cardboard.
Light cardboard?
Light cardboard.
Interesting. Let's hope the blankets are a bit better.
I think they are.
Around about 40 minutes after takeoff, we were served our meals. Both Joe and I had ordered special meals, I ordered a gluten-free one and Joe a vegetarian lacto-ovo option. Because of this, we were served at least 15 minutes before all the other passengers. The meals, when they arrived, looked and tasted great, even though it might not look like it under these lighting conditions.
What's yours, darling?
Pasta.
Pasta. Bread is nice. It's really yummy apple crumble type thing.
Both our meals were quite nice, but they were served to us after 11 p.m. and we didn't have much of them. The service of the staff was absolutely fantastic. They even brought around a couple of rounds of wines for me to drink. I always like the flight map and flight details when I'm flying, and this Voyager 3D system was particularly impressive. Have a look. I could watch that for hours, which I think I did because I didn't sleep much on this flight. After a meal was served and all the plates collected, I settled back and watched the movie. Afterwards, I got about 2.5 hours sleep on this roughly 9-hour journey. I don't usually sleep much on planes anyway, so I was happy to give up the spare seat so Joe could spread out, and I think she got a little bit more sleep than I did. And the red ambient light in the cabin was quite strange. Similarly to our last experience flying with Air New Zealand, you could order from an a la carte menu via your entertainment screen. The menu was both in Chinese and in English, and it covered all manner of things including snacks and drinks including alcoholic beverages. The toilets on board were of a good standard. They were always kept spotless. There was good quality soaps and moisturizers as well as razors and toothbrushes, which was a nice touch. There was a little bit of queuing at peak times because of the limited number of toilets, however. Around 2 hours before we were due to land, this is around 2 a.m. at the local Taiwanese time and around 5 a.m. Melbourne time. A very, very early start to the day. About an hour and a half before we landed, breakfast was served. We both received some sort of variation on a vegetable frittata.
Some sort of vegetable patty. Doesn't really taste that nice. There's potato and baked beans with a tomato. I've had better breakfasts for an egg, I think.
It didn't taste that great. I didn't manage to have it all, mainly because it was so early in the morning. We were also served some pieces of fruit and a coconut yogurt.
Strawberry yogurt, quite creamy but sour. I didn't like it at all. Joe loved it.
In terms of food, I thought the evening meal was far, far better than breakfast. It didn't look that appetizing and it didn't taste fantastic either. It was soon time to land, and as per the whole of the journey, this was at night. We left at night, the whole of the flight was at night, and we landed at night. We landed in Taiwan's Taoyuan International Airport around 45 minutes early, around 4:15 a.m. The airport was pretty much deserted. We picked up our bags in what seemed to be record time, and because the airport wasn't busy, sailed through customs and immigration. It was about 4:45 a.m. and we got to the terminal building. It was nice, modern, large, clean, but at that time of day, almost everything was closed. I've arrived in Taipei. It is 5 in the morning. My plane has arrived more than an hour before scheduled time. Everything's closed at this airport, including the Starbucks, so there's nowhere to get a coffee or somewhere to eat. And the MRT doesn't open until 6 a.m, so we've got an hour to kill to just wander around before we can get a train into the city. Even though I was pretty tired and hadn't had much sleep, I did have a bit of a wander around the terminal building.
The good news is we found the MRT station. The bad news is that it's still closed.
If you want to buy tickets to the metro, there are machines available. However, they only take small denomination notes. We only had large denomination notes, so we weren't able to buy tickets here. We did eventually find a McDonald's that was open, and each had a coffee from here. The metro station opened around about 5:45 a.m. We were able to buy single-use tokens for the metro, but not able to buy cards that we were able to top up for future travel. So we bought our tokens and proceeded to catch the first express train to Taipei City for the day. The express train was clean, modern, and quick. It took around 40 odd minutes to travel the 45 kilometers from the airport to Taipei's main central station. It was still pitch dark outside, so couldn't really look out at anything on the journey. So what did I think of this China Airlines flight between Melbourne and Taipei? Well, I thought it was pretty good. The cabin crew were really great, friendly and accommodative. The service was good. The food was reasonably good. The flight times a little bit problematic being a red eye, but it was quite well priced. I would definitely fly with China Airlines again. I do hope you liked this video. If so, please hit that like and subscribe button. Hit that notify bell so you'll never miss another upcoming video. If you'd like to support my channel, please consider buying me a coffee or smashing that super thanks button. And until my next video, which will be the first in my Taiwan series, you take care and bye now.